Minnesota Timberwolves head coach Chris Finch has some interesting words that Stephanie White might want to heed if she wants to have a successful time in Indiana, where she may find herself out rather quickly because the fans are not going to put up with a bunch of losing basketball, a bunch of ugly basketball, a bunch of basketball that they know is created by a coach who has no idea what she is doing. Let me know if this sounds like something Stephanie White should be listening to. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all of your support. Of course, shout out to the 19, which is all 15,000 of you who support the channel. Although we've gone backwards this past week. I don't know if that's y'all getting sick of me or YouTube. But anyway, do me a favor, like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Hype on mobile, notification bell. So this is Chris Finch. Pay very, very close attention to this. This is pretty short, but this is very, very relevant to Stephanie White, Caitlin Clark, and the success or lack thereof of the Indiana Fever.
We've learned with TJ is like he's he's got to have the ball in his hands. Silly me, we played him out of the corner most of the season, but he's way better with the ball in his hands at the top of the floor.
Wow. Wow. Do you know how ecstatic, how thrilled Caitlin Clark fans would be if Stephanie White said that exact thing? Instead, Stephanie White, over a year into her tenure, Stephanie White, whom everyone praised because, oh my God, she's a Caitlin Clark fan. Oh my God, she's watched so much of Caitlin Clark's basketball. She's announced Caitlin Clark's her college basketball. She's announced Caitlin Clark college basketball games. She knows everything about what makes Caitlin Clark great. And then she comes in, and despite some of her words, her actions are a complete 180. Her actions scream, I want to do everything I can to keep Caitlin Clark from being Caitlin Clark. She has done nothing but tell us Caitlin Clark being on the ball is the problem. Caitlin Clark throwing some high-risk passes is the problem. Caitlin Clark shooting logo threes is the problem. But Kelsey Mitchell is the way to nirvana. Kelsey Mitchell is the way to heaven. Kelsey Mitchell is the way to the promised land. The head down, dribble in a circle, chuck the ball up, never pass it to anyone, don't play defense or grab rebounds. Kelsey Mitchell is the way to winning. Sorry, I didn't mean to trash Kelsey Mitchell in that way. Y'all have heard me many times say I think she's the best shooting guard in the WNBA. However, that is all that she is. And if she is not shooting very efficiently, if she is not a very efficient scorer, she's a negative on the court. And she's, there are other scorers like that too, right? That they're one-trick ponies. If they're not doing that thing and doing it at a high level, they hurt the team. We saw that in the preseason game. Kelsey shot 0 for 8 from 3. Kelsey doesn't play defense. She makes, y'all want to trash Caitlin Clark's defense. Kelsey Mitchell makes Caitlin Clark look like an all WNBA first team defensive player. Okay? Kelsey Mitchell does not grab rebounds at all unless the ball happens to come to her. She doesn't get assists because she doesn't pass the ball. She certainly doesn't pass the ball to Caitlin Clark, which, by the way, quick timeout. I wanted to do this in my post game. But, oh, man, and now I can't remember her name. Is it Walker Kimbrough, right? Walker Kimbrough. Am I pronouncing that right? I didn't want to stop and look. But I got to shout out her because there was a sequence last night, a really good sequence in Indiana Fever, where they were moving the ball really well. And it went in, back out, and it went back out, backside. And Kimbrough had the open three. It was an open three. But instead of taking it, she made the pass to Caitlin Clark immediately, who had a wide open three, and it hit me. That is the first time I've seen that since Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA. Absolutely wild. And I'm like, I want this late. I mean, this will seem to be like one of the long shots, maybe one of the guards that's going to be at the end of the bench. And I'm like, no, I want to see this lady play just for that and that alone. But that's also kind of the reasons I want to see Stephanie White go, because she's focused on the wrong things. She is this coach before this coach made this realization. She is Chris Finch. Man, every time I hear Finch, I want to think American Pie, and that just gets really distracting. But she is him before this revelation. And I'm not so sure Stephanie White has it in her to have this revelation because she is so hardcore old school WNBA that I don't know if she's open minded enough. I don't know if she has the basketball IQ to take a step back and recognize, because again, she's still saying we have to figure out how to get Caitlin Clark open looks. She's still saying that Caitlin Clark being off the ball is a good thing. Saw it last night. Caitlin Clark, they came down. By the way, Caitlin Clark being off the ball for a few possessions in a row literally is what flipped the game from the Fever winning to an absolute embarrassing blowout for the Dallas Wings in the other direction. I mean, one of the plays was literally Caitlin Clark just running down the court and standing in the literal corner, right between the end line, baseline, and 3 point line. Just and you could tell there was nothing was coming of it. Like you could tell they were going to play a 4 against 5 offensive set, and Caitlin Clark was just going to stand in the corner. That is not going to win a lot of games. That is not going to get this team in contention for a title, which is the expectation of Clark and the Fever fans. This is supposed to be an organization that is the class of the WNBA now because they brought in Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White was supposed to be the coach that can make things happen with Caitlin Clark. And yet, more and more people like myself are saying, oh my God, well, one, listen to Chris Finch, right? Like, do this. Understand that if you want to win, if you want an offense that plays effectively, Caitlin Clark needs to have the ball in her hands as much as possible. She needs to be the high usage player, not go stand in the corner. That is the wrong thing to do. Absolutely don't put Caitlin Clark in the corner. Give her the damn basketball. Give her the rock. Kelsey Mitchell, I was going to say role player, and I realize how people would take that. I don't mean role player as in, oh, she's got to come off the bench for 10 minutes, but role player in that she has a very, very specific role on this team, and that is bury the open three. And yes, sometimes get to the basket because we know her and Caitlin did develop a great connection on the backdoor play, right? Every once in a while, be the bailout player that can go 1v1 and get a shot when the offense is stalled out. But that's it. Do that. Do that well. That is all that needs to be asked of Kelsey Mitchell. And if she can do that, she's going to have the type of season that is going to help make the Indiana Fever successful. That's what I mean about role. She has a very specific role on this team. I don't mean she's a role player, okay? So don't get it twisted. And if she sticks to that role, she's going to be big time. But that means Stephanie White has to recognize that Caitlin Clark needs the ball in her hands at all times. Obviously, when I say at all times, she makes passes and all of that. All of you know basketball and aren't yapping about stupid stuff know exactly what I mean. Here's the problem. I don't have faith at this point that Stephanie White can do it, but here is the blueprint right there. They really, really need to figure this out. Stephanie White really needs to take a step back. And I think I went off target with the Kelsey Mitchell stuff. What I was going to say is myself, a lot more and more fans saying, hey, Stephanie White, here's what you got to do. As crazy as this sounds, you need to go back to 2024, look at the Indiana Fever post-Olympic break when Christy Sides handed the keys to Caitlin Clark and said, do your thing. Because despite some issues that this roster has, it is still a far more talented roster than that one post-Olympic break in 2024 that had a whole lot of success. So the only one standing in the way of that kind of success now, Stephanie White. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think she is going to change? Let me know in the comments. Do me a quick favor. If you haven't already, hit the like button, subscribe as well. If you haven't yet, I will talk to you later.